part of our daily routine is also looking at our meal times. When is the best time to eat breakfast, to eat lunch, to have dinner? And so Ayurveda says, once again, as we create this structure in our day, having our meals at the same time every day is really important. That really helps our digestive energy to work on schedule. You know, we have this internal clock of when we wake up, when we feel hunger. So the more consistency we have, we'll be able to develop that feeling of hunger, a healthy appetite at each of those designated meal times. So let's start with breakfast. Ayurveda says ideally breakfast should be in the window of between 7 to 9 a.m. Just like we have a dosha clock, we also have an organ clock. And so in that organ clock, each of the 12 organs has kind of a 2-hour window where it has its maximum energy or maximum effect. The stomach correlates to that 7 to 9 a.m. window, so it's really important to try to fuel the body during that time of the stomach to kind of start our day. For someone who doesn't eat breakfast, maybe they just have tea in the morning, maybe they're having a smoothie. Ayurveda says having a liquid breakfast can be good, in particular for kapha individuals, but having that same ritual of tea or coffee or juice or whatever the beverage might be at the same time each day is really important for breakfast as well. The next big meal is lunchtime, of course, and the ideal window for this is somewhere between 12 to 1 o'clock. Now, the reason Ayurveda really focuses on noon as the best time for lunch is we look at the body as a microcosm and the universe as a macrocosm. And what is the relationship between these two? So Ayurveda says when the sun is at its peak, right at midday, that's when our digestive energy, that is similar or represents that solar energy in the body, is also at its peak. So we want to take advantage of the sun being at its peak, our digestive energy primed and at its peak, to eat our biggest meal of the day right at noon. If we can't do it right at noon, that 12 to 1 window gives us a little bit of a grace period. Now, we might eat a very healthy, nutritious meal for lunch, but if we're doing it at different times of day, then that digestive clock, once again, is feeling very irregular. Our body is not primed to absorb that food as well. So if we're eating that really healthy, nutritious meal at 2 in the afternoon, the next day maybe at 11, the next day at 1, you know, it's the body still cannot digest that food as optimally. So Ayurveda says, really having that biggest meal at noon, having that consistency, we're going to maximize our absorption of nutrients of that food. We're going to aid our digestive clock, our digestive enzymes that are going to know to be secreted at that same time every day. So that's what we want to strive for. After lunch, later in the afternoon, we might be hungry, have a snack. Ayurveda says, once again, if we're having a snack, try to do that at the same time every afternoon to once again keep maintaining that consistency with our digestive clock. And then dinner time. So dinner time can be a little bit different depending on which season we're in. So in the winter season, when the day is shorter, we want to try to eat our dinner earlier. In the summer season, when we have a longer day, a lot more daylight, we can get away with eating our dinner a little bit later. So the ideal window that I tell my clients for eating dinner is between 6 to 7 p.m., or we can sometimes stretch that out to 6 to 8 p.m. in closer to the summer season time period. But ideally that 6 to 7 window is what we really want to shoot for. If there's a day, let's say we're coming home from work really late, we're not going to make that window. Of course, we have to eat dinner whenever we get home, but try to make that dinner lighter the later it is into the evening. So we just don't want to tax our system too much before bedtime. We want to have at least a 3-hour window between our meal and bedtime so that we can ensure proper sleep that night. So those are the guidelines for our meal times: breakfast between 7 to 9 a.m., lunch between 12 and 1, dinner between 6 to 7, or maybe 6 to 8, depending on the season, and trying to be as consistent with that as possible. So we talked about the sun being at its peak at midday, and then at sunset, our digestive energy in the body also starts to wane. And so this is why Ayurveda believes that last meal of the day, we don't want to eat when it's too dark and too late and too close to bedtime. So we want to try to eat as close to sunset or before sunset if possible. So those are all the guidelines Ayurveda gives around scheduling our meal times as part of our dinacharya, our daily routine. In addition to that, Ayurveda also talks about during the day, as we're going through all of our activities, to really try to practice mindfulness as much as possible, to be present, to use our skills from our meditation practice to live our life feeling balanced. So we're not rushing, we're not juggling too many things, we're pacing ourselves well. We know most of us are busy, multitasking, rushing, doing too many things, and this is what accumulates stress in our body. So ideally, the dinacharya teaches us how do we minimize that stress buildup so that we can preserve our mental well-being, our physical well-being throughout the day. And it's also important during the day to do activities that really bring us a feeling of joy, that nourish our heart, that, you know, allow us to feel like we are serving our purpose, living our life with meaning. These are the things that are really going to enrich us on a day-to-day basis. So I encourage you to think about what activities that might be for you. And if you feel on a daily basis, your activities are bringing you a feeling of joy.